Lastly, I gotten the chance to watch the entirety of Code Geass. Um, it was an anime from the mid 2000s, and I will say, very well crafted story. And when they say that the big three of protagonists turn antagonists are Eren Yeager, Lelouch, and Light Yagami, that is a very good way of putting it. Obviously, Light Yagami from Death Note, those of you who've seen, he's a protagonist because he's the main character and has a Death Note. And he's basically just killing off criminals. So you're like, okay, he's doing a good thing, trying to create a world where criminality is just flushed down the toilet and doing it in a way that the criminal justice system has utterly failed in. But then he becomes an antagonist because, well, it goes from thinking on the greater scape of the world to becoming selfish and ambitious for him to be a controlling son of a bitch within the law enforcement of Japan, which becomes his downfall because all of a sudden his sense of God complex that he developed ended up being the very thing that did him in. With Lelouch, it was a similar thing. Now, granted, this is why I draw the connection with Lelouch being like that bridge between Death Note and Attack on Titan, right? So, with Lelouch, he is a guy of Britannian blood who basically got shooed off by his dad into Japan, which was being colonized by Britannia or the British Empire that had a good grip on the global world. In other words, there was no American Revolution, so let's think about that. And then you got a lot of mechs a la Gundam Wing, which I thought, and Evangelion, which I thought was really cool. And again, I have to mention Evangelion because Evangelion did influence a lot of mech anime post 90s moving forward. Not just Mobile Suit Gundam or Gundam Wing, but Evangelion does deserve its credit in that regard because they had the whole mech thing plus good storytelling of characters, even though its thing was very, very different from what we're talking about with Code Geass. With Lelouch, his ambition was to liberate Japan. You know, a Britannian who's thrusted into Japan and how they were being held in a tight grip by Britannia. He's like, you know what? We need to liberate these people. The Japanese shouldn't be treated like this. Like this ain't right. But then in the process, he had to mask himself so no one would know who he is, so he can lead them towards liberation. But then it went from him wanting to liberate people to all of a sudden just wanting absolute control and then wanting to rule the world. So now, so similar to like Yagami, it went from him starting to pursue power for the purpose of a better world for others to now wanting a tight kung fu grip on the world and him ruling everything. But then the twist is eventually it becomes a means to an end of trying to eliminate his dad as payback for what he did to Lelouch and Nonali, his sister. Because that was really fucked up. Like, yo, like Charles V. Britannia, he an asshole. He really is. So like, if you guys take the time to watch it and then watch season two, and then you see how everything goes full circle, it's like, damn, how are you gonna do that to your kids, man? You know, it's just messed up. And not only that, you didn't outright kill the mom, but still, like, it was really messed up. But then it went from liberating the Japanese to giving his dad the middle finger to now wanting to rule the world, but then wanting the world to be at peace so long as he manipulated everyone. So now he went from being a liberator to a dictator. And that's where things happen. But then all of a sudden you find out that he deliberately did that. So that way, eventually, in eliminating him, then having his best friend be Zero, the new Zero, to symbolize an agent of change and benevolence towards the Japanese, to having Nonali, his sister, be the one to lead. Reason being because Nonali's heart has not been tainted by vengeance, but rather her ambition is to be a benevolent leader, unlike her brother Lelouch. So he sacrificed himself for the greater good that he actually wanted. So then all of a sudden it kind of makes the line very gray. So it's where it went from white to black with like Yagami to white to black to a really grainy shade of gray with Lelouch. But this kind of sets the stage to the character development we eventually got with Eren Yeager in Attack on Titan. If you haven't read the manga, it's gonna come full circle in March when the final part of the final season drops, and you'll understand. But those of you that have read the manga, you already know how it plays out. All that whole having the power of all the Titans and all that, the ambition was to eventually have himself go bye bye so that all the Titans disappear, so that way his friends can actually live a peaceful life, no longer in fear of Titans. And yes, a good chunk of the population got sacrificed in the process, but Eren cared less about a whole grand population's salvation, all because his thought was, I want my friends to live a better life. And then in the long term, society would repopulate itself or whatever. And of course, you got that time skip in the final chapter, and somehow it shows the circle of violence that constantly happens with humanity. Which reminds you, hey, no matter how benevolent humanity is, there's always going to be some among the populace that always have a quest for power and control and chaos. And I think, and that's why I've never had a complaint about the final send off chapter of Attack on Titan, because it brings things full circle about the conflict of humanity, how it's always at war with itself no matter how much it tries to achieve peace. Whereas Death Note kind of shows that cycle. Code Geass is really great at showing how, like, if there's someone willing to do it, it can be done. But then Attack on Titan kind of has a hybrid of Death Note and Code Geass with Eren's character. Because at first you're thinking he's doing a full heel turn, but in reality he's trying to do what Lelouch did. Draw all the hatred upon himself so that in his sacrifice for what he's done, his friends can live a better life, and then therefore eliminating the main evil that was destroying humanity for years on end, which was Titans, the weaponization of them. Doesn't matter where they originated from or how they got weaponized. The point was Titan was wreaking havoc on human society. And Eren's ambition was, from the very beginning, get rid of the Titans. Kind of like how Lelouch's thing was, liberate the Japanese. And eventually he managed to pull it off, albeit in a way that was very shady or complex, but it got done. And for me, that's good storytelling. That's how you get it done. So, when it comes to a TV media perspective, that's what I've been